Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryan. I am a pastor, author, and burnout recovery coach. It is my passion that you burn bright in life and not out. Now today I want to talk to you about 4 signs that you might need to quit your job. Now, if you're able to mitigate these issues with your boss, your family, yourself, praise God. That is an awesome solution. But if 1 or 4 of these is true of you, you are in the danger zone and drastic change is needed either by quitting your job or otherwise making some, again, drastic changes to your life. Now, as we've talked about in previous videos, burnout is fundamentally rooted in a loss of our sense of self to work. We lose our identity to work. We identify too much with our successes. We identify too much with our failures. We identify too much with the relationships that we are praised by and paid by. And as a result of that, we lose ourselves to that and we lose our identity to that. And it's a conditional kind of identity. As a result of that, these 4 things might begin creeping up in your life and you got to pay attention to them. Number 1 is you don't like who you're becoming, both inside your job, in your work, as well as outside of it as well. At work, you're being asked to do things you don't agree with. Perhaps you're being pushed beyond your boundaries. You're not being respected, especially if you're vocalizing that. And the organization of the job, your boss is not respecting those boundaries. You're being asked to do things, or you're being assigned to initiatives or teams or jobs that go outside your natural skill set, your passions, your interests. And as a result of that, you're withdrawing perhaps from relationships that you otherwise had in previous seasons of your job, or you're becoming an irritable, conflict-seeking presence at your job as well. And you don't like that. You don't like the fact that you are increasingly becoming that. You also might be bringing that into your family. You might be bringing that into some of your other relationships. Perhaps you're withdrawing from those as well. Perhaps you're being irritable with that as well. And you don't like that, but you don't know where it's coming from. Well, it's coming from the impact of your job on who you are. Again, our sense of self is lost to work, and we are being shaped into somebody that we don't want to be. There was a 2005 study in the Journal of Psychological Health and Well-Being that showed that the number 1 issue of recovery over the weekend was the ability to psychologically disengage with work. And so if you are in this situation, you're oftentimes dreading going back to Monday, going back to your job on Monday, and you're unable to fully disengage and be present. So you are not liking who you are becoming, and it could go beyond some of the things that I listed. Number 2, and this related to number 1, is you are withdrawing from close relationships and they're continuing to suffer. You are withdrawing from relationships that you are seen by, and you're only engaging with relationships where you perhaps feel significant. And this goes again into that sense, those relationships that you're being paid by and praised by. So you're withdrawing from close relationships that you're being seen as a person, as a human being, as a friend with all sorts of interesting parts of you. And you're only allowing yourself to invest in those relationships where you feel significant, either by their praise or their pay. And this is, again, as a pastor, this is one of the most important things for me, because if I am not healthy, I will withdraw from the community and the friendships that I have that see me more than just a pastor, more than just what I do, more than what I'm praised for or paid for. And I'm withdrawing from those, and I'm only saying yes to those relationships where perhaps I feel significant for a variety of issues. And I have to make sure that I am being disciplined about that, to continue to invest in those relationships that I'm seeing beyond what I feel significant for. And so that gut check is, man, am I only actually saying yes to those relationships where there's perhaps a result or a product or something that I get out of it? It can kind of become very transactional, as opposed to the relationships where you're able to just connect, you're able to just be, and you're also able to be filled up in a mutual way as opposed to just simply giving. I mean, the second thing, if you're saying no to those relationships and they're continuing to suffer, the third thing is that you're losing your passion for the rest of life. You're losing your passion for the rest of life. This can be seen in our loss of interest in hobbies. Perhaps you're forcing yourself to try to show up to your hobbies that you otherwise were so interested in and enlivened by in previous seasons of life. Perhaps it's losing interest in a musical instrument. Perhaps it's loss of interest in cooking or otherwise going to the gym, or other sorts of interests and passions that you one time in life were able to just simply give yourself to and lose track of time, but now you're just losing that passion, that drive. Arthur Brooks, who's a professor at Harvard University, says that we are essentially what we do with our time in leisure. We are essentially, that's who we are. What we do outside of our jobs is essentially who we are. And so again, if you're losing who you are outside of work, that's a major red flag. You have to be honest with yourself. Are you losing steam? And are you forcing yourself to try to enjoy things that you one time enjoyed in life before? So that's the third thing, is you're losing your passion for life outside of work. And number 4, you're becoming more emotionally dishonest with yourself and with others. More emotionally dishonest. Seems like whenever anyone asks you, hey, how's life going? How's work going? How are you doing? You respond with, fine. That's it. You're not going in any deeper. You're not really sharing much more details of your job or your life. You're just keeping things shallow. You're keeping things safe and predictable, cordial even. But underneath all that, there's a bunch of unprocessed emotion and pain that you are terrified of letting go and letting out and processing perhaps with yourself, with God, or with others. And you're instead stuffing all of that down because you're afraid of what that would mean for your life, for your lifestyle, for your career, for your relationships. And as a result of that, you continue to stay in the situation you're in, but you don't want anyone to know where that really is at, where you're really at, what life is really like. And so that's the fourth sign, is that you're becoming more emotionally distant and you're not able to share any of that. And so the gut check for you is, man, if I'm being honest, what am I actually feeling right now? And even if it might mean that I have to make some significant changes to my life, to my job, to how I approach life, that's ultimately, those emotions have to be listened to, because they are your sign, friend, that you are made for more, that there is more for your life than where you're currently at, and that God has given you that compass in your heart to be able to assess, okay, what is it, Lord, that you have called me to do and called me to be? See, life is filled with all sorts of U-turns, all sorts of dead ends that don't make sense in the moment. But as in hindsight, we see that they were the necessary parts of our journey to lead us into the new things, into the new chapters that God has for us. And so those are ultimately a friend to us and not something to fight. So that's the fourth thing, those emotions. And so if you have any questions, comments, pushback, I'd love to connect with you in the comments section. Feel free to comment below. Again, feel free to like, share, subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to hop on a call to talk through any of these things, to be able to process where you're at, I would love to support you. This is something that I'm passionate about, as I've walked through my own seasons of burnout and rediscovered how God has made me to live life fully in my calling, as opposed to any obligations in life. And so I'd love to connect with you. Feel free to reach out. So with that said, thanks so much. We'll see you guys in the next video.